Hello to viewers, welcome to my channel Science and Technology. In today's show, Science Thursday, we're going to talk about mining environmental impact. People have requested it, so let's dive deep into it. So it's a need, let this be very clear, under no circumstances, no criteria, you should ever reach a point where it's like, maybe we don't need mining. Nah, that's just like, no. Like it's one of those things that we need it. It's an absolute, what we classify as non-negotiable. A country's prosperity is directly proportional to it. And here's the deal, it's not a modern sin or something like that. It's like we had this before we had paper. Like if you study about old civilization, they have metal. How do you think that metal came to be? Just like out of photosynthesis? No, right? So same point. It's very important, compulsory thing. And the ironic part of it is that it does not care whether you are working on renewable energy or you are working on non-renewable. It does not give a damn it's fossil fuel or solar panel. This puppy will be consumed like there is no tomorrow, especially in the energy sector, and constantly. Does not matter whether you are mining for aluminum for your cars or lithium for your batteries. It will be consumed. Mining will be done. Like back in the days, we used to have children, and yes, that as flame. They back in the day did not understood CO2 could cause poisoning, so they had flames and horses, and just like it's a thing. It was done. Like it's still a thing. It was done. So it's one of those things. It will be done. Although to be fair, I genuinely do not understand why the heck wind farms require, precious metal. It's like, are they using magnets? It's like, that's just dumb. Like same way we have magnetless motor development simply because to remove that magnet dependency. Maybe wind turbine does need it, but let's see. So all the energy system needs it constantly, and its environmental impact. Now that's the problematic part. Back in the day, it was poisonous. Today, it's also poisonous. So what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is size. Back in the day, we were lucky if we were mining thousands of ton. Now we are mining thousands of ton per day. So scale has went up. So these are, by the way, in kilometers. These ponds are in kilometer sizes. So brutal, to say the least. So consequences are beyond brutal. Like most people do not have a slightest idea how bad the consequences can be or is. So let's touch upon consequences. Let this be very clear. It's a whole field of study that people have to do. There are branches in government. Sole job is just to figure this out because they have to regulate it. So this is brutal. Let this be very clear. And depth-wise, this goes in deep, as in every slight variation that you are causing into the natural ecosystem has cascading failure. So it's brutal. So first, let's start with the easy one. Erosion. When you are going boom, 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 boom on the land, of course you are unearthing basically things that were settled. They were like, chill, bro. Now what happens to that? Well, rain happens. What happens after rain? The soil is no longer bound together. You boomed it, it's literally floats away. It causes sedimentation. Now, because whenever we are doing this sort of events, we are generally doing it where it is rich in something, be it iron, be it calcium, be it copper, whatever have you. So whenever you have this sort of runoff from this sort of area that is freshly boomed, it causes serious water body and ecological poofing, meaning bye-bye. If water runoff from rainy season ever touches any river stream, that will be done. Like there won't be any fish left. It has happened, and many times you have changed pH levels. People have changed the ecology so that natural fish disappeared. Some other fish that was evolved in some other places that could survive in that sort of harsh environment survived here. Like we have poofed civilization of species, and not to mention water goes from potable water, as in you can just drink it without any issue, to toxin. So it's a very brutal, and that's just from the physical effect of mining. It's just because you are poofing so much desert, as in like you have to understand this. Nature does not like the idea of blank soil. There will never be a blank soil. The only place where you will not find any vegetation is not desert. It's basically Antarctica or Antarctica. Basically, when you have ice sheet, only then nature is like, yeah, I can't penetrate this. Deserts, there's more than enough life in desert if you know where to look. Flat land without desert, yeah, it's a human activity. Nature does not allow basically blank soil to exist. So whenever you're seeing something like this in a surrounded area, that means there was deforestation done, and because you physically boomed it, nature cannot even reclaim it anymore. So that's a brutal part of it. Then we come to air pollution. That's just the starting point. Our starting was erosion. Let's come to air pollution. This puppy, many times when we are mining for coal specifically, we are also releasing boatload of CO2. They're like, wait a minute, why CO2? nature is not an elegant industrial process when it's making things. So many times gases get trapped, which includes CO2 and methane. Now, like, wait a minute. If natural gas is coming from coal seams, then why we are not mining it? Well, we are if there is high enough concentration of it. But here's the mild concentration is everywhere. But it was sealed in the ground and we dug it up. It's now releasing. And let this be very clear. In all scenario, it's much better to burn that CH4 and break it into one CO2 molecule than it is to let this puppy be. That's why there is a safety environmental directive in all biogas power plants or biogas producers specifically. It's like, if you ever reach a point where you cannot store it and you are releasing the methane into the atmosphere, thou shall burn it. You should not allow it to go to atmosphere directly, because that will make CO2 look like baby. It's like bitch please. Like, the consequences of methane releasing into the atmosphere is brutal, and we are doing it in every single coal plant or mine. A lot of it, like dangerously lot. It's not enough where it's like, oh, we're gonna mine it, because some coal seams have that, so we do build gas plant there, but not all of them. So yeah, and that's just the leakage. Let that be very clear. That's not our intent, that's the leakage. And in terms of intent, where we are consuming fuel, consuming boom devices and all that jazz, that's 4 to 7% of global greenhouse gas itself. It is significant, not something that you can be just like, who cares? It is significant. So thus we got started with basically erosion. Now we went to air pollution. Let's talk about water. Basically, mining industry is one of those industry that drinks water like there is no tomorrow. Meaning, I used to think coal power plants drink water like there is no tomorrow, but this puppy is on a whole different level. It drinks water. It will drink reverse dry. On top of that, it will piss toxin. That's another problem with it. Meaning, you can literally have a healthy aluminum mine and you're like, hey, everything is fine, we're consuming water, no big deal. Yeah, you're not just consuming the water, you're converting that water, and it has sludge added to it, industrial waste added to it. Those things are toxin on a level that humanity does not understand. Like, you cannot comprehend how toxic that industrial waste is. Meaning, if that touches soil, that soil disappears. Meaning, there won't be a soil, there won't be a microbial life that can break it down and handle it. That's how toxic that is. So whenever this happens, like in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, this happened in Brazil, one of the embankment, basically that's how we store it. As of now, we do not have any proper way of handling it. Actually, we do, it's just, it's expensive. So cheap way is build a dam, just flood it inside there and hope the water evaporates and you can keep flooding it. You can do it for 30-40 years, but hope and pray to God that it does not break. But if it does break, which it does in this scenario, it will toxify the whole area that it touches. If it touches the water, yeah, that water body, bye-bye. It has happened in the past where it touched a river, gone. That river literally will take decades to recover. If it touched a lake, bye-bye lake. If it goes into ocean, that area where it's flooding, yeah, that will change the pH level of ocean. So yeah, and we do make a, ludicrously large amount of it. Like, you can see that if we are causing tsunami inland. So water pollution wise, yeah, like it's bad, like very, very bad. Then we also have heavy metal. Now, heavy metal is one of those things that may sound odd. It's like, why heavy metal is a problem? Nature or built lead. It's not that we built lead. It's that you have to understand all these heavy metals, they are in a format that it cannot be absorbed by water. It cannot be absorbed easily by plant life specifically. So what does that mean? That simply means it's there, but it's inert, quote unquote. But every time we mine it, we make it in much more easy to access format. And which things access it? Life. The moment life access it, basically now instead of having corn, you are eating corn laced with lead, laced with arsenic, laced with things that it should not have. Not even in parts per million, it should not have those things, but now it has, because we unlocked it. So heavy metal poisoning. Now, unfortunately, heavy metal poisoning is a bit slow. This thing we understood like very early on, like as in like in 1980s, we figured it out. This is dangerous. This is brutal. We got to sort it out. So there is some strict ish regulation, and now we only have one flooding a year. Yes, that's the good news. That there is only one flooding a year apparently. I do not even want to Google into it. It's like, just don't. So it's bad. And heavy metal is a slow poison. It will not poof you instantaneously. That's why people do not notice it. But it will be such a bad thing that there are mines in China that has been shut down, but people cannot return in that area. Like, wait a minute, is it radiation? Actually, yes. We must be mindful. Every place has some amount of radioactivity, right? Of course, natural thing, it does exist. But when you are mining properly, of course, you will study it, scan it, what is the waste product and all that. And if you detect way too much, little bit higher concentration than natural background radiation, you're like, maybe we have hit some deposits of uranium or some deposit of other radioactive material. They did not bother with it. and just did it. And now that area is bit higher radioactive. Now, of course, like that, it's not Chernobyl, but it is higher radioactive, and not to mention the heavy metal. They cannot grow crop in that area. Hectares of land poofed, and the mine was shut down 30 years ago. It still does not work. So heavy metal is a slow poison. On top of that, you may be like, who cares about environment? Who cares about forest? Who cares about water bodies? Yes, you do care about humans, right? It's bad for humans too. Mining itself is ludicrously bad for humans. And there is a disease. We came to know about it after we figured out mining causes it. It's like a black lung disease. Do not Google its pictures. And there are fancy variation of cancer, so that also comes from that. Do not Google it. So let that sink in. It's bad for people who are there. And the most ironic part about it is that even though you may think it's just soil stuff, we are changing it so fundamentally that nature doesn't know how to solve it back, but it will take millions of years to do so. So we are literally creating a scenario where we have no solution, meaning Germany could have a aluminum plant, that aluminum mine they shut down like 50 years ago, and they have a pond, and they still have that pond 50 years later. It's like, yeah, we can't really do anything about it, and we just have to keep monitoring it so it does not leach. And if it leaches, we actually have no idea what to do. So it's one of those things, it never goes away. Never. Literally never. It's almost like a radioactive material. It never goes away or fades away. It's not like, no. Unless actively cleaned or managed, this is one of those things that you do not want to understand. Like, it's no. Because if you understand, you will be horrified. So how the heck it got this bad? How the heck we have a world where we have one embankment failure a year? How the heck it became this bad? Well, I've always wanted to dive deep into the essence of it. How the heck it could go this bad? And I realized way too scary things. Too many old people are in position of power, and that's natural because, again, it takes time, it takes years, it takes best of the best grinding for decades to reach a point where they're like, oh, now I'm the owner of like this mine or this mine and all that. Yeah, I get it, that's normal. But here's I've noticed something dangerous about that. The dangerous part is, in the modern times, all of them are coming from broken family or have broken family of their own. As in, this picture is real. It's not maybe one or two. It's all of them. All of them are in their second or third or fourth marriages. So that means all of them are dealing with broken family. Now, does that matter? Yes, if they are in position of power. Now, like, what the heck position of power has to do with anything? Well, position of power requires a certain level of gratitude, specifically towards life. You specifically has to understand this. Basically, you are planting a tree that your kids will utilize. Not you. Let that be very clear. Not you, your kids. But if you have this happening often enough, this lineage track breaks. Basically, instead of thinking that I'm doing this for my son. And again, you can notice this in like old movies from 1950s to 1980s. There was always a talk. Even the bad guy, they were talking about like, we gotta have to manage things and like, don't not exploit too much. And it's like, there has to be something. There has to be lineage, so to say. And the core benefit of that lineage is that it always had a greed break, meaning we are always greedy. Back in the day, today, tomorrow. Greed is normal. Greed is part of us. But yes, there is a break function to it. It's like, hey, let's apply some breaks to it. Meaning, back in the day when rich people were like, hey, I have a house. How about I buy another house and just have it like as a rented house, as just like, have some passive income. That's good. That's good. That's how people back in the days used to chillax. Now we have rich people who have been through bad things, let's just say, family court. And then they're like, you know what? Let me buy this house. You know what? Let me buy 4 other houses. You know what? Let me buy the property. Everybody, meanwhile, is screaming, stop buying, stop hoarding so much money. You will literally increase the rent cost of living so much that it will kill the place. But they do not care because they are broken. They do not even understand the poison that they are causing. And they do not even give a damn because there is nothing to them anymore. It's like, if, God help you, it's like if they are 70 years old, do you really think you're going to give a damn? Like, think about it. Like, you are 70 years old, you have already gone through family court multiple times, and at that point, it's like, all you will give a damn about is yourself, because you have been burnt. So, the greed fail-safe that we used to have, where it's like, greed was like, how about we tone it down? Apply some break to it, like, just some. Nothing exists. Basically, I would call it Andrew Tate-ification of everybody who's in the steering wheel. Yeah, I know that's a scary concept, but it's happening. And Then we come to another aspect, is how the heck we became so callous with the life. Well, if you watch again old movies, people used to live where they were buying things. Basically, they were my steel mill owner was generally in a position where they could just drive. Hey, that's my steel mill, I can just drive and see. Now we have a generation of basically controller class people who have never seen the assets that they are controlling. You could literally have a scenario where it's like, oh, I bought this plant or built the plant. They will go there only one time, then they have to cut the ribbon, and then they're like, they never go there. They do not live there, so they do not have a stake in the quality of that area. Like they could buy. There could be some Chinese who have bought mine in South Africa. They don't give a damn. They have never seen that mine. Most likely, they would have only been there for ribbon cutting, or maybe not even that. So they could literally be remoting all the operations. So if a news cycle came in, it's like, hey, sir, we are low on profit, so we have to mow down this forest for increasing the profit, so we can boom more area. They won't hesitate because they have never seen what they are losing or what they are tampering with. They won't even say like, hey, let's see, let's just wait a few years. Fuel prices will go up, and then profitability will change. No, they just, let's boom it away. Nobody cares. Like you will notice like all the oil executive, they never live in what we call Cancer Alley. What is Cancer Alley? Where crude oil is refined into other things. That area is Cancer Alley. That's this official term. So because you are removing the controller people from that area, the area that they are controlling, there is no more inherent fail-safe anymore. Meaning, if you are the person who built the dam and you are living below the dam, you will be damn sure to make sure that dam does not go poof. You will see minute crack, you'll like, bitch, you better fix this. I live below it. That no longer happens. That break, that another secondary break was there, that is also gone. So people far off, somewhere in computer could be deciding, yeah, this mountain, poof. And the mountain part is important to me because my father used to live in a different place compared to this one. And that places, we had lot of small hills. Like, you have flat land and then just one hill. And randomly, I'm noticing that hills are gone. What the hell happened to hills? Yeah, for concrete we need small rocks, so those hills were auctioned off for government, and everybody early days thought was like, what's gonna happen? And nothing happened in the first 10 years, so to say. But slowly people started to, wait a minute, the tips height is going down, now gone. So it's one of those, because somebody far away made that decision. That happens. So it reaches a point, once you put physical distance between your property and what you are deciding upon, like your control authority, you put it far enough, it reaches, who cares? Like, who cares? Oh, I'm removing some forest, who cares? It's like, if you are physically there, then you understand what that forest means. And on top of that, in principle, we put bureaucracy to handle it. It's just like, unfortunately, bureaucracy removes transparency. So people, without even knowing it, cause damage. And that's horrifying. That's horrifying. Like, think about it this way. Like, somebody could have a conflicting interest and they could not figure out which interest is the good one simply because they have so much bureaucracy. That's the distance part of it. Basically, controller agents who are controlling our modern world, they are off. Basically, they are this, and they do not have this legacy break, so their greed has no break. And because they are physically far away, they do not think before destroying things that are like, priceless, so to say. And bureaucracy makes it so intranslucent that even if people are screaming their lungs off, it's like, and filing government project, it will take 8 to 10 years before it reaches to a court, and by that time it's all gone. So distance is horrifying here. Now that is on the top end, but here's the problem part. There is also bad thing in bottom end, ignorance. Meaning, right now in this day and age, we are in a scenario where we have a lot of activists. But here's it: if we have so much activity, so much activism, why the heck nothing is changing? It's like, we are literally in the same place than we used to be. Heck, in some regards, mathematically speaking, it has gotten worse in terms of environmental. So how the heck that happened? Well, the reality is, unfortunately, many of the activists, they are not activists, they are attention seeker. I did study psychology. Even I can tell us, like, dude, you are not talking about this. You are not passionately invested into the cause. What you are is attention seeker. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, these are attention seekers. They are not what you call like a passionate individual who's like, okay, this is a bad problem, I lived in that area and I want to solve that problem. No. What they are, attention seeker. With the worst case scenario, the worst disease humanity has ever known, savior complex. I have no idea how the heck, like, I really want to boom the individual who allowed an underage girl to sit in a place like that and just bitch about things. It's like, here's the deal. That's why I said, like, there is a difference between people who want to solve a problem and people who are like just attention seeker. There is a 14-year-old kid who likes to swim in the ocean. He swam. and plastic just went wham to his face. And then when that happened, he was like, hey, I do not like it. Few years later, as in like he was, if I'm not mistaken, 16 years old, he built his first machine that was removing plastic trash from the river streams. Then he made that into a company, got funding, he made even bigger units, and now is slowly, again, let this be very clear, it's not solving all the plastic problem of the ocean, but it is making a dent. That's what happens when you are invested in it. Like, you saw a problem, you will act on it, you will solve it. But that kid is less popular than this. How? Why? So that's the whole thing. And the worst aspect of it, they are generally all this. This is another reason how you will know that they are attention seeker rather than actual activist, is that they're generally outweighted by basic fact. For example, there is this old man, and he does not like the idea of this environmental and all that. And I do not blame them, because of the who are marching for it. I get it. I get that hatred, but I get it. So now he knows his stuff. He knows his stuff. So he destroyed a whole room. Like, I wish, I pray, I beg that this is a fake news. I have linked the video down below. Is that he's talking to people who's suggesting regulation, and they are government employees, as in like they are paid for this. And he asked them a very simple question: what is the percentage of CO2 in the atmosphere? Now here's the deal. That number is fancy number. So I could understand that you will mess it up. Most of you may have messed it up, but most of you should be able to just, out of the, I'm pretty sure it's less than 1%, right? You will not be like, oh, it's 99% or it's like 50%. Of course not, right? Like, orders of, you should not be off by orders of magnitude. So here's the deal. This is the answer from them. 4%, 5%. And here's the deal. This is how they were deciding the number. What do you think? I think it's a bit higher than that, 7%. And he literally joked about it. Yeah, it's like, price is right. I'm like, if these people who are environmentalists, who are paid government regulators, who are getting paid for this, and he's like, we know transportation costs us 50% more CO2. That's why we are here. And it's like, no, just tell what is the percentage of CO2 in the atmosphere. Now, I get it. Like, anybody who says less than 1%, I'll accept it, because that number is tedious. That's like, is it 0.4% or is 0.04%? You will mess it up. I get it. But less than 1% should be default. And then it will like 0.04%, especially if you're getting paid to do it. So that's the whole point. And you will notice that right now on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Discord, or TikTok, everywhere you will notice environmentalists getting roasted, because those are not environmentalists. All they are is attention seeker. They found a cause to go hulululu. They are not actually doing it. So that's why. And because of this, the fact that they appear as idiots, and the fact that they are causing disturbance to common public, the worst thing you can do is to destroy your biggest ally. The top class do not care. The lower one could have cared and could have changed anything, and you are pissing them off. Like, just stop oil. Like, here's the, if you come to me, it's like, hey, Anupam, what will you do? I have a step-by-step action plan. This is what you're going to do. This is which research ring you have to do. This is how you're going to remove the carbon CO2. You will never waste money on a hydrogen. Anybody who says that, you put a dynamite up their ass and tell them how the heck diesel has less energy than, hydrogen. They say, oh, the kilogram. It's like, now carry a 1 freaking kilogram of hydrogen and carry 1 kilogram of diesel. It's like people are not converting kilograms to liters that you have to do for hydrogen case, and then they're like, the moment you do that kilogram to digital conversion, you'll go. That's why I will say that never do that. Then I will say, go seaweed biofuel. In 1998, that research was concluded. 20 years of research after oil embargo was done, it was concluded, and the answer was very clear. There is only one technology that could work. You cannot touch anything on land, because again, we need this, and it has to be on sea, and the yield rate would be lower compared to freshwater algae, but we do not have fresh water. So salty water seaweed is the best option with surface area, as in like hundreds of square kilometers would be needed. Oceans have that much surface area, and you can just get your carbon neutral hydrocarbon basically, and you do not have to worry about it. It's carbon neutral. Now people are like, oh, what about the oceans? It's like, it will not have any effect on the ocean compared to you roasting the whole planet. So let us solve the problem today, and then maybe tomorrow we may have fusion in 90 years from now. So step by step, like this is what, that's why I said that boy who was swimming got whammed by plastic. He built a tool. Again, everybody is who understands it is like, we respect it, but it's a bandit, but better than nothing. Everybody is like, better than nothing. He's doing something that's awesome versus this. So that's why you have to understand. because we cannot be bothered to do fact checking. It's like things get out of hand. Like that's why, like, just stop oil, stop oil. It's like, and there is one meme, you must have seen it. It's like, but that's cooking oil. They do not even know what they are protesting. So it's a really bad. It's the ignorance is really bad here. And that's why status quo never changes, because you are not going to do mathematics. I have made videos after videos about why hydrogen will not with mathematics, and the best is, oh, you think you know more than a politician. I'm like, what was the point of you going to a school if you cannot do the mathematics? And why do you assume that politician is a god? Like, I genuinely do not get this. It's like, why do you have that, oh, politician god? It's like, do the math. Again, I could be wrong, but if you do the math, you will tell me. And yes, I have verified my mathematics with professors, all of them. And yes, we do have a fighting. And yes, they're like, oh, why you are comparing kilograms to liter? And it's like, how are you going to carry it? Oh, yeah. So it's one of those. Nobody cares, because, again, you will not do the mathematics. They are attention seeker. Who will care? Like, nobody actually cares. And here's the most bitter thing I'm going to tell you, which it's unfortunate, but it is what it is that if you do not know it, if you do not know what is the percentage of CO2 in the atmosphere, you cannot expect your representative to know it too. Because your representative are not aliens. They are not coming from somewhere else. They are among you. So if you are among this crowd and nobody knows anything, and then one person gets elected, and then they're like, going into Congress and talking about things, and they're like making an ass of themselves, it was your fault. And be mindful, if you are lazy, they will be lazy too, because they are not coming from some other Alpha Centauri. They are coming from here. They're coming from you. And yes, I get it. We'll like, oh, but that means doctors and doctors. Yes, deal. Do you give a damn about environment? Then put effort. If you do not give a damn environment, you don't give it. Then don't complain about it when you die because of mercury poisoning. You have to. Like, doctors are a completely different breed. They are a profession. They get profit out of it. Environment is not like that. There is no profit incentive there. Although now there is, like, if, again, another thing, never talk to a person who's like, oh, we should go to solar. No, say like, hey, don't you hate it, when coal, like, supply demands, man, supply changes, we have rainy season and the coal output, it goes down. You're like, yeah, man, we are wasting too much heat just to dry the coal. Yeah, it's like, it's brutal, man. I'm like, don't you hate it? Like, and in summer we have droughts, you have to shut down your power plants because, again, you run out of water. It's like, yeah, man, hey, how about you try this solar thing? I heard it's a very good return on investment, 5-6 years, man. Try a small area, just try it. If it works, awesome. Then that's how you get ball rolling. You do not go think of the environment. Nobody thinks of it. So that's why the ignorance, we want to be ignorant. The people on top are out of touch. So nobody cares. Like, why they are smashing painting? And it's like, what the hell, man? So what can we expect in the future? Well, reality is, only good news I have is that from 1980s, a lot of people put a lot of effort into all the mining waste, and there is tools for it. Let that be very clear. There is tool for it, and that's the primary reason why all the clothing industry went to China. Clothing industry apparently makes way too much water waste, and in European Union, you have to treat that waste. We know how to treat that waste. It's just that it's expensive. So they're like, just go to China, and China was like, yeah, I'll take the poison. So. And now China is becoming expensive, so now it's going to Bangladesh, where it's like, yeah, we'll take the poison again. So we have the technology, but we never deployed it. And why is that? Well, it's cheaper to pollute South Africa and China and etc. basically. It's cheaper to just like Congo, going YOLO on Congo. It's like, who cares about if people in Congo, they are literally being poisoned by their own labor. Basically, they are mining and they're poisoning their own environment, and they will never have food security ever. Why? Contamination of the deep water resources, contamination of the, well, heavy metal contamination of the crop area. Yeah, it's not gonna go well. It's basically suffering today just so your children can suffer even worse. That's how bad it is. So this is the brutal reality of it. So we have to understand it. Basically, same way when I'm talking about energy, I'm like actually spending time doing math, now running the numbers, which are basic numbers. You have to do the same with mining also. You cannot just, we have to ban it. No, you have to say why it is necessary. You have to be the one who is like, this is what we can do. And yes, it will increase our cost of living by this much. But again, in some scenarios, you could be like, hey, it will actually reduce our cost of living simply because we are creating this mess and we are spending money to save the mess. How about we do not create the mess in the first place? Sometimes it actually does make sense. So you have to understand it and you have to accept it. You cannot have a just stop oil. You can never just stop mining. No, you have to understand it. You have to accept it. Then you can act, and you must have an action plan. This is what we have to do precisely, and you can only have that if you understand it. What's happening? I'm not even going into acid leaching. That thing is complex AF. It's like how the heck rain can cause so much damage, especially in mining areas. There are depths to it, but you have to understand it. If you want to talk about it, you have to understand it. And without knowledge and out of touch people, the problem is that our future is destroyed before we even get a chance. So without knowledge and out of touch people, like bottom part, they do not have the knowledge because they are lazy. The top part, they're like, yeah, who cares, out of touch. Basically, its future is being destroyed before we even get a chance. Basically, future, you shall never come because we are poofing it today. That's the brutal part. And it's not them. Let this be very clear. This is, the more I'm digging into this sort of ecological hassle, the outcome is coming the same. It's not them. It's not like oil corporation, 1970s villain. It's, yeah, they are there, but like they're us. They're coming from us. Like in recent times, I have studied more of global politics, and I always wonder, like, why the heck Africa is not as powerful as India? Why? Like, we got independence similar time, population wise more or less similar. Heck, we are small, like in terms of land area, and like we are good. Like, we are good. How? Then I realized Indian politicians, while they are corrupt compared to South African, basically politicians, I'm like, damn, we do not even know what corruption is. So it's one of those things. Like, it's very easy to blame someone else, but it's never them. It's us. If you are corrupt, the politician you will select, by definition, by law of universe, will be corrupt too. So it's our laziness and comfort that is causing this issue. We have to get out of our comfort zone. We have to take out a pen, a paper, run some numbers, study some facts. Only then we will be a good steward of this world. If we are not, if we are too lazy to run numbers, yeah, bye-bye. So this was my presentation on mining pollution. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.